The International Olympic Committee has awarded the 1996 Olympic Games to the city of Atlanta.
The Olympic Games were just a year away, and the construction of Olympic venues was behind schedule. Organizers were desperate for construction workers to finish the work.
Atlanta's organizing committee set new goals. First, it had to build an Olympic infrastructure and a number of venues, an Olympic stadium, an Olympic village, eventually a huge park in downtown Atlanta.
Atlanta and the federal government were willing to look the other way while immigrants, some of whom will be in the United States illegally, bailed the city out of jam.
Atlanta became the first city ever to win an Olympic bid on its first try.
Don't mess with the Olympics now. Montreal is still $700 million in debt from 1976. You can ruin your whole legacy.
Several folks have told the story about, that the Olympic venues and villas were not going to be ready for opening day.
The city council voted it down. Nobody wanted any parts of it.
So they had a call to the south of the border into bringing, of course, construction, roofing, landscaping, everything for us to be able to build the villas.
Anyone wanting to come across the border and take a hold of this opportunity to work and make money, we were gonna make that happen.
Said, well, yeah, in fact, if you could, pass through the grapevine that they're very welcome and that we really need them here, that'd be great.
You can send it out on the radio, you can spread it by word of mouth, but we were really careful not to leave a paper trail.
Then the next challenge, convincing the world, the International Olympic Committee, to choose Atlanta.
It was an invitation for people to come and help build the city and help turn it into a truly international city.
Come visit Atlanta, but then they get here and they see this magnificently diverse community, and there's really no other place like it in the world.
And so we get this massive influx of workers to come and build this Olympic infrastructure.
The beginning of '94, from here until the end of the Olympics, there will not be any immigration enforcement.
I came here in 1996 during the Olympics.
The great thing about Atlanta at that time, and why I decided that this was a place where I needed to make a home, was it felt very international at that time.
Everything that was Latino related was loved.
Y juntos trabajábamos porque no había la búsqueda de lastimar.
In 1996, the Olympics went on, and we had a very successful Olympics. Construction and other related jobs were booming. So a lot of people would stay, brought their families.
And the world was made feel welcome in Atlanta. People came here, they were young. They were maybe 20, 21, 22 years old, Mexican immigrants that were wanting to provide a service, provide their labor by building the Olympics for Atlanta, by building the housing boom that happened during the 1990s. And they enjoyed the area, they were making good money, and they were providing great services and needed services for many industries in the state.
Ya había licencias, las licencias nos las dieron y nos las dieron con cualquier licencia, que traes licencia de México, traes licencia de China, lo que fuera, esa se tomaba como buena y sobre eso te hacían tu documentación.
What you ultimately end up getting is a source of drug trafficking, of human trafficking. There's organized crime that starts to emerge. I mean, that kind of element is clearly not good for our community. And I'm not saying that corruption is rooted in the Latino community, because that's not at all what I'm saying. There's corruption at every level. There's corruption in the media. There's corruption in our government, both nationally and locally. And we have to be aware of those things. They turn a blind eye to the rule of law. as a member of the Tea Party, I believe strongly in law enforcement, and that governments can't just change the law or turn a blind eye because it's inconveniencing them for the moment.
Fue justo en el 2006 cuando había una propuesta de ley que se llamaba la Sensenbrenner, que quería criminalizar a nivel federal la inmigración indocumentada.
Criminal illegal aliens. Overwhelmed by criminal illegal aliens. The illegal aliens are in the country.
Smuggling illegal aliens.
People were overtly racist.
Fuck Mexico! If you come here to mooch off in this country, why don't you go fix
The direct result of the populist ranting about immigration is the hate crime epidemic.
Our story is the truth. The truth is that we recruit people here. We bring them here. We need them. Yeah. That's the truth.
In 2007, in my last year in the state senate, things had really deteriorated.
Actually, Georgia was one of the first states that started introducing what we call or we consider anti-immigrant legislation. I think people started turning around and looking, we were fine with people here because they were serving an economic need.
So fast forward to 2011, we had HB 87. That really hurt. In fact, I came out public saying that as soon as the governor signed that legislation, the agricultural industry was going to lose over $300 million.
They're running scared because of this new law.
And you're in trouble.
I'm in trouble, bad trouble.
Smith's 200 acres need 20 pickers, mostly Mexican nationals.
There is not enough documented people here to supply that workforce.
Most of your workers are here illegally.
That's sure. If they got documentation, they got a better job than working for me.
The governor signed it, and the agricultural industry not just lost 300, they lost $500 million.
You want to get rid of illegal immigrants, quit eating. And that's for everybody. That's, nationwide. If you want to get rid of them, quit eating.
When immigration exploded in the 1990s, and particularly around the time of the Olympics, when they were doing all the construction and bringing in immigrants to do some of the labor for that, you have to look back and note that the economic impact for Latino immigrants at that time was somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.3 billion in buying power.
Greed and corruption has taken over, and I see people being hurt. I see families being ripped apart. I see a totally careless handling of the immigrants that have chosen to remain here.
What I see is people with a lot of despair, a lot of fear.
I can't watch families get torn apart and children and grandparents and moms and dad ripped into pieces because of American investors and financiers and people in power that just want to make a few extra bucks.
Over and over, illegals. It dehumanizes them. And I think they feel that, and that creates a sense of shame. Many families feel like, what is my option? Going back to Central America with a lot of violence and not a future for my family or my kids, going back to Mexico where there's an economic situation that is not prosperous, or a violent situation in their hometowns.
Georgia went from a welcoming state for immigrants, particularly Latino immigrants, to a very hostile state against Latino immigrants. And we've seen that year after year, where at first they passed legislation upon legislation upon legislation targeting specifically the undocumented population. But recently we've seen legislation targeting the legal immigrant population as well. So Georgia right now is not a very hospitable place. This country has not become a hospitable place for immigrants, unfortunately. And that's the environment that we're in right now. The state has made it very, very difficult to work within the Latino community, to be able to reach out to the Latino community. And there's this tension of fear and resilience among the Latino community.
And then there's the immigration law. One of Georgia's most recognized immigration attorneys firm speaks out about their practice. and how this law has affected them.
It's interesting to watch debates on TV and listen to them on the radio where politicians that should know, probably do know, and just using misinformation to misguide the public, or individuals that say, why can't immigrants that aren't documented just do something to become legal? Why do they choose to be illegal? They think it's in order to avoid paying taxes, or they think it's in order to undercut wages. The truth is there's not many ways that an undocumented immigrant can become legal in this country, especially if they came through the border without inspection. So as we were talking to clients for years and years and trying to find ways to help them out, we came up with what we thought was probably the best way to have them come out of the shadows, present themselves to the federal government, try and be honest about their situation, and to start living a life at least where they could pay their taxes, have a social security number, have a driver's license, so that they could have car insurance.
So many people have been stopped unfairly and then put on hold for immigration and then on a deportation case. And the majority of those people are not criminals.
My attitude was and is that if you're given the two options, to live in the shadows, drive without a license, not be able to pay your taxes, have to work under the table, sometimes taking cash payments and not paying your fair share into the system, or take a risk, come out of the shadows, tell the truth. I'm fearful of returning to my country. I want to live in this country, have roots into this country. I'm a good person, don't have a criminal history, willing to pay my taxes. That you are much better off just being honest with the federal government. Let them know who you are, where you live, what's your background. Through this process, we've had a lot of pushback from what I call kind of the dinosaur lawyers who've been here, practicing. We've been practicing about 15 years now. But from people that have an old mentality, if they tell their clients, hide, wait, maybe there'll be an immigration reform. Well, we've been debating immigration reform for now over a decade, and our Congress has done nothing. I see no reason that they're going to do anything, at least during the Trump administration, to change the status of clients. So as an attorney, and it's advice I've given other lawyers, at least under Georgia bar rules and most other states have the exact same ethical requirements. If a client comes to you and tells you, I am breaking Georgia or my state's law and federal law by driving without a license, sometimes using false documents to work, taking money under the table in cash payments because I don't have a way to get on the payroll, and they tell you that's my situation, as an attorney you have the ethical obligation to tell them to get right with the law. That gives you two options. Tell them to go back to their home country and stop working illegally, stop driving without a driver's license, don't work with false documents, which means they're going to return with their family, or give it a shot, see what a judge says. And if a judge denies you, obey the order. You can appeal it, and if he tells you have to go home, you have to go home.
Well over about 1 million Latinos live in Georgia, and that's not going to change. All the policies that they may pass, all of the hardships that Latinos and immigrants may have to endure is not going to drive away immigrants or Latinos from the state. Number one, industry needs us. The number one industry for Georgia is agriculture. The number two industry is the service industry, hotel, restaurants. All of those industries would collapse without Latino immigrant labor.
The risk of living here, driving without a license, and working without documents is just as high as it is to go see a judge and talk to him in 6 or 7 years after you start the process. Now, this process is going to be controversial among maybe people that have a conservative view that we should round everybody up and deport them, and I understand. They have their viewpoint. My viewpoint is that many of these individuals are contributing greatly to society, have wonderful families, have nothing but good intentions. They speak English. They've learned to speak English. They've learned to assimilate into our society. And these are people that we want here. These are people that truly contribute. And so the best thing that we could do for them and offer them is a chance.
If the Republican Party doesn't accept a more compassionate and measured view on immigration, then in my view, the Republican Party will never be a national majority party in this country again.
This is the face of Georgia today. Immigrants who came in pursuit of a better life, in the pursuit of the American dream, trapped in a city with fear and uncertainty. This is the face of the Latinos who built the city, the promise to be an international one, a welcoming one. They're cheap, they're hungry, they're desperate.
Pasó lo que tenía que pasar, pero no nos imaginábamos que iba a pasar de esa manera. A lo mejor nosotros queríamos sobresalir y adaptarnos en parte de un pueblo que nos había recibido con brazos abiertos. El 96 fue un éxito. Lo logramos juntos como comunidad latina, americana, como una comunidad de Atlanta, porque Atlanta no tiene un solo color. Atlanta siempre, desde que yo he llegado, ha sido de todos colores y más colores se siguen agregando a esta comunidad. Y voltearle la cara a alguien que apoyaste antes y querer prácticamente, así seas un niño, botarlo del país, para mí eso está demasiado mal.
I ask for you to please keep your hearts open and try to find the love and understanding that makes us human. Because after all, we are people, just like you. While I can't predict the future and tell you how successful you're all going to be, by sharing my story, I hope to convince all of you that if I was able to break every stereotype based on what I'm classified as, Mexican, female, undocumented, first generation, low income, then so can you. We do not have to let expectations become our reality. I am no expert in this journey we call life, but I am living proof that beating the system is possible. We do not have to conform to the limitations that others put on us. There will always be people that judge us and set expectations based on their preconceived ideas of who they think we are and who they think we should be. However, we have the ability to prove them wrong. In those moments when you need a reason to continue moving forward, close your eyes and picture yourself in the future saying, "They told me I couldn't, so I did." Thank you.